This conference will now be recorded.
It's now 6:00 p.m. on Thursday, January the 13th, 2022. We have a quorum here, and we will tiptoe out quietly, normally into executive session. Tonight, we're holding it in the regular council room to respect the COVID outbreak that's going everywhere. So we will now go back at 6:00, and at 7 we're going to go to a regular session. So let's start our executive session now. Right, yeah. So we are convening pursuant to the following designated section of Texas Government Code, Untitled Chapter 551, Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551071, consultation with attorney, 551072, deliberation relative to real property, Section C, 551074, personnel, Section D, 551.087. And with that, we will start out. Do we have Carmen online?
This conference will now be recorded.
It is 7 p.m. on Thursday, January the 13th, 2022. We're going to resume our regular meeting after the executive session started at 6. And we're going to reconvene right now and have a discussion and any necessary action as a result of the executive session. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we authorize the city administrator to enter into an agreement with the lowest bidder for the appraisal of the old school building property.
Where's Carmen?
We'll have a vote by voice. I apologize. Hey, I got to get with this. We got a second. Now we're ready to vote. And do I hear any objections? Everybody is for this. Let's all have a say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so Cynthia, you have something else to do now. You can get to do that. Now we're going to more or less start our regular meeting, and with the invocation and the allegiance to the American flag and the Texas flag.
Father, we come before you tonight, thankful for this opportunity to gather together and deliberate the business of the city of Rome. We thank you for those that have volunteered their time and energy and effort in serving on the council, and for those that have taken the time to come here tonight to be a part of our local government here in Rome. Father God, we also pray that you would give us wisdom and guidance as we deliberate city business tonight. Lord, we also lift up the spiking cases of COVID, and that you would keep us safe, that you would protect us, and we pray for your healing across this land. In Jesus' name, amen.
Cannot hear y'all at all.
Okay, we're now moving into our public presentations and input. We have a lady that needs to get to another meeting soon. We've asked that they shuffle and let her go first, and then Shayna Call. whatever you've got as you've got it, please.
Good evening. My name is Valerie Smith, and I'm your Wise County Republican Precinct 24 Chair. I wanted to make you aware of some changes to our voting precinct that were made by our county commissioners recently because of the state redistricting. Precinct 24, which is what we've all been voting in for the last several elections, is now been split into two. And so we now have Precinct 24 and Precinct 30. Precinct 30 basically is the city of Rome in Bywell. It borders 114, 287. So Ellis, even though we're in the city of Rome, we are in 24. And then all the way out to the Denton County line, Tarrant County line, and 3433. And it splits the new Reunion subdivision in half. So part of it's in 24, part of it's in 30. So the Wise County Republicans are looking for a precinct chair to represent Precinct 30. So if anybody has any interest in that, you can contact me. You can contact Eric Marney, who's our GOP chair, and there's a form you can fill out and file it with Eric. The last day to register to vote is January 31st. We are also in need of poll workers for the polls for early voting, and early voting has been extended this year. You're going to see this in the Wise County paper messenger tomorrow. It is actually 2 weeks. The first week their polls are open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. We also have Saturday, February 19th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then Sunday, they've actually added a Sunday from noon to 6. Then voting resumes on Tuesday, the 22nd through Friday the 25th, and that's from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So lots of time to early vote this year, and we do need poll workers. We have candidate forums that are held every Thursday night over at Rise Church in Decatur, and it features all of the Senate District 12 candidates, Wise County Clerk, the County Judge, State District 64, and then U.S. Congressional District 26. And those are all new districts to Wise County. I'm going to be holding a candidate forum, and I would like to extend an invitation to anybody who is filing for city council or for mayor to attend, and that will be on January 31st. I'm finalizing the meeting place, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be at the new Humble Hall across the highway. And we have a number of local and state Republican candidates that are going to come speak to the voters, and it will be a chance to speak to the voters as well as a informal meet and greet. We'll have snacks and beverages, and I hope that you all consider coming and meet the candidates. Have a good evening. Thank you very much.
There's going to be a quick test of everything that Valerie just told y'all. But seriously, if you have a need, make sure which district that you turned out in after they redistricted. And Valerie's in the phone book if you have a question.
Yes.
We appreciate it, Valerie.
Next, we have Ms. Beecraft. Please state your address.
My name is Deborah B. Kraft. I live at 360 West 2nd. I read through the council packet, and from my understanding, and please don't take this personal, this would be anybody sitting in that position. From my understanding, the city admin at this time has the right to hire and fire employees. They also have the right to hire and fire department heads, but with council approval. I think the PD is exempt from this, as the chief hires and fires his own department. If you vote yes to agenda item Q subsection I, then you have given away your right to have a vote, to have some control. Along with all the other changes from secretary to admin that you will be voting on tonight, you will be giving the admin almost total control. If the admin can hire and fire without having to have council consent, you are giving her all the power to run the city, and you as a council are really no longer needed. And where will employees go if they have a complaint about the admin's hirings and firings? Because you will no longer have a say in the matter. That's not looking out for our employees. I would hope that if you vote to let one person run the city without council oversight, that you would turn in your resignation and immediately step down from office as soon as the meeting is over. Council meetings will then just become the admin informing you of what they've done, if they want to tell you. You need to remember just what happened in Aurora with just one person having the power to run the city. Do you really want to see that happen in Rome? Do you really want to make that a possibility? I thought the admin was hired to do the daily running of the city with council approval and guidance. And if you're tired of doing that job that you were elected for, step down. But please don't set the city up for a dictatorship of just one person having almost total control. And I hope we didn't spend a lot of tax dollars on the resolution, since most all of it, except giving the admin total control of hirings and firings, is already in our ordinances and state law. Spending our tax dollars to do repetitive things is not being frugal with our money or in the best interest of the city. Why waste the money? By the way, the prohibited conduct, subsection A, capital A, calls this an ordinance where everything else says it's a resolution. Which is it? Resolution or ordinance? Would this kind of mistake make it null and void? Thank you.
Thanks, Deborah.
Next, we have Patricia Mitchell.
Got two things I'm going to go real quick. I understood from a previous council meeting or announcement that the upcoming citizens forum was intended to get input from constituency about issues that affect the future of Rome, not limited to facilities, as there are other issues of concern to our residents.
We can't hear her.
The ideas on the agenda.
Good.
Yeah, I'm going to address again what Ms. Beecraft addressed. The reading of this, it says resolution on this, but on the agenda it's listed as ordinance. Yes, I'm sorry. No mayor, council member, board, or commission member shall interfere with the city administrator's administrative duties of appointment to and removal of persons from employment with the city. That's what it reads. The operation of this city, I'm sorry. The operation of this city depends on the knowledge and experience of specific rank and file employees. Sam Eason accused Rome citizens of disrespecting city employees on November 11th. Yet this council will consider eliminating the employee's ability to address council directly about workplace issues or disputes that cannot be resolved otherwise, leaving valued employees with no recourse but to file civil action against the city. And why would any elected council vote to give up their own designated authority to one hired employee who cannot be held accountable? Whether this is an ordinance as noted on the agenda or a resolution as indicated on the proposed document, one person rule with no oversight is ripe for corruption and abuse. Thank you.
Thanks, Patty.
Next, I have a written statement from Lisa Ann Wilson that I will be reading. She lives at 240 West First Street. During the recent bond election, the majority of the people spoke and voiced their opinion. They overwhelmingly voted no. However, a particular council person pointed out that the no voters did not respect the first responders. That simply was not the case. This is a very egotistical and condescending and presumptuous, especially coming from an elected official. This same individual is speaking about code of conduct tonight. Wow, pot calling the kettle black. His public outburst during a November 11th council meeting can be seen on YouTube. Watch it and you'll see his behavior certainly does not represent an elected official who represents those constituents he represented. In my opinion, he should remain quiet with his personal opinion and remember his position to represent all voters no matter what their personal votes are at the polls. He has attacked his constituents for their freedom of choice. Like the saying goes, your vote, your choice. Clearly, he does not play well with others, only looking out for his personal agenda instead of Rome residents. His attitude and arrogance is unbelievable. To see the council person infer that the day he and his family moved to Rome, the earth stood still and now everything was made right with our city Certainly, this is not the case. Fast forward 7 or 8 years later, and we are still at large. Amount of debt, roads are bad, water and sewer still has problems, and the buildings are still dilapidated. There's facilities of future of Rome city meetings beginning at 9 a.m. on Saturday, January 22nd, 2022. Citizens, we need you to share your vision and help map a way to get there. The future of Rome is in your hands. The local government of current and recent past, in my opinion, have not done their due diligence of looking out for Rome. Money has been thrown down a rabbit hole. Spending is out of control. Some of those individuals will be running for upcoming offices. We really need new blood. Please help. You may pick up your application January 19th through February 18th, 2022. He is correct. There is an upcoming election in 2022, and growth is coming, but we do not need people to step up. But we need people to step up and run for office that will be responsible and frugal for Rome. Our records are both right and a privilege. They give citizens an opportunity to find out the inner workings of our city behind closed doors. They deliver facts, figures, and additional information relative to how our tax dollars are being spent. These individuals should not be harassed, chastised, or belittled by council members, the administration, or on social media for their actions. Thank you for your time. As a longtime resident of the future of Rome is now, please make a difference. Pick up your form and run for office. Lisa Ann Wilson. Next up, we have Kathy Coffey. Kathy, are you on there? Kathy Coffey.
Kathy, are you online? Can you hear us? Kathy Coffey? Okay.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Oh, there you are. We hear you.
Okay, sorry. Good evening, my name is Kathy Coffey and I live at 1102 Mount Lane. I would like to address the Citizens Forum on Facility schedule for Saturday, January 22nd. With the bond failures, there is a pressing need to secure safe, up-to-code ADA compliant buildings for our employees and volunteers. I would like to suggest an open house for citizens to have the opportunity to tour all buildings and see firsthand the problems we are facing. This would give them an opportunity to ask the department questions, and if the citizens have seen the problems and talked to the different departments, they will better be informed to make suggestions. I would also like to ask what the procedure is for this meeting. Will there be a time limit on questions and suggestions? Will everyone be able to be heard or just a select few? Thank you.
There's no more public presentation.
We appreciate everyone that took the time to present their concerns or their areas. We are now moving out of public presentation and into announcements from council members and myself. Anybody have any announcements from the council side?
I have a few, Mayor. First, for anybody that does not already know, Northwest ISD school system has been closed until next Wednesday due to the increase in COVID cases. Since December, Christmas time, they're seeing over an 800% increase in cases. So they'll be reopening on Wednesday. Election filings will begin next Wednesday as well on the 19th, running through February 18th, places 4 and 5 in the mayor positions are open. You can file at City Hall. Lastly, I just want to thank our city staff, our employees, and our volunteers. I know lately there's been a lot of negativity from inconsiderate individuals attacking hardworking employees. I know that for most of the town, I can speak for myself only, really. Y'all are doing an amazing job. I want y'all to keep up the great work. I have all faith in every employee, every volunteer that we have. So, department heads, please let your people know that we are behind you, or I'm behind you, as well as most of the citizens I've talked to. So keep it up, and y'all are doing a great job. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Oh my God.
Yes.
I really have told this the whole meeting? No. All right. Okay, so I have a few announcements. All right, the first one is voteinTexas.com is open. If you are not a registered voter, it ends on January 31st. So please go and register to vote for the upcoming election. Also, I do have a few things to say. I was a little concerned for our businesses and the water bill. I was approached by another business owner concerning the wastewater. So it is, it's very, I guess I should say, unprofessional that that our, sorry, that our business owners are contacting me, a city council member. How will this affect the businesses that want to come to Rome? This needs to be affected and fixed as soon as possible, and what can be done going forward. This is huge, and I think that we need to put it back onto the agenda. I know it should be ended at the end, but that's all I pretty much need to say, and the announcements. I guess with me holding my mic like a superstar. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have anything? While Sean is up, he can bring you a mic. So, hey, that'll work, you know. Okay, I have three things. Monday, January 17th, city offices are closed in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Saturday, January the 22nd, 22, mark your calendar right now. We're having a citizens forum in this building. It will also be virtual and by phone. And we need to talk about the future of Rome and the facilities and see if we can, and nothing will be decided that day, but we need a whole lot of input from the citizens. So everybody, please try to be there. Thursday, January the 27th is the last council meeting for January. Anybody in the audience have any announcements of any kind? Okay, now we're going to the consent agenda. Today, it's the minutes of the City Council regular session of December the 9th. Does anyone have any questions, or do they want to approve those?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second? And we'll have a voice vote, all for, anyone against. Okay, and now we're going to the monthly staff reports and board meetings. Remember, you can pull off any of these specific departments if you have any questions. We've got the police chief here, we've got Cynthia here. Now it's a good time for questions.
I have for Sean for the Jake breaks. When did we receive the Jake break signs in? Let me go to my notes. When did we receive the signs in? I know it's in your report.
Yeah, we because of supply and demand, there's some parts that did come in. Biggest issue is some bolts and nuts that took a long time to get in here, and then we had issues with the line locates because there's not an address associated with that, and there are GPS coordinates. The people weren't able to locate those, but we was able to get some in already.
Okay, that was something.
But yeah, I don't have a date because the pieces come in at different times, and so we just finally got them all the parts in just recently.
Okay, wonderful. I know that was something I asked.
Yeah,
I was something I was pushing for.
Yeah.
So I just want to.
We got two. We got 3 in right now out of the 5.
Okay, that was something that was on my agenda for a resident. So I just want to make sure. So thank you.
Anyone else? Geez, y'all guys are getting off easy. You know, nobody has any questions? Got nothing? Okay, now we're going to move to the regular agenda for new business. We have 3 areas: discussion and any necessary action regarding future dumpster days. Cynthia, your name is on that one.
Well, on the dumpster days, what we have seen, and Sean can speak to this as well, but since we've been going to monthly bulk trash pickup, the attendance at the dumpster days has gone down. And so we have just been looking at other options and reducing the number of dumpster days that we do have, since we do pay staff overtime to man those. Sean, do you want to talk about how many people showed up, how many yards we got?
Yeah, on the first Saturday, especially in the fall, the first Saturday we only had 4 people show up, maybe 1 an hour, and it was maybe like a plastic toy set, a little, and then just a small little items. One person came with refrigerators, but we can't take refrigerators, and so it's not enough to even fill up a small trash can. And the second was 4 was 20. It was roughly less than 15, but it was not even enough to fill up a quarter of the dumpster. And so we're spending, man hours, overtime hours where employees stay there, and that's why we just recommend, changing the alternatives, because I think we're wasting time and money, especially with the monthly bulk pickup that we do have.
So what we were looking at is, you've got a couple of options. Because right now what we do is we do 2 days in the spring on consecutive weeks, so 1 Saturday and the following Saturday, and then 2 in the fall. So you could maybe reduce it to just 1 in the spring and that's it, or maybe 1 in the spring and 1 in the fall and see how it goes. But I know, it hasn't been this way since I've been here, but I know that it used to, because that's how we advertise it, is 8 a.m. till full. Because if it was noon, a lot of times it'd already be full by 10 o'clock or whatever. So we just wanted to bring that before you and see if you had any thoughts on that.
Cynthia, on the dumpster days, is there something that people can bring that's above and beyond what the bulk trash pickup once a month takes?
Well, I do want to introduce Hyon. He's our new representative with Waste Connections. He is here in the audience. And I'm going to see if you want to answer that question. I mean, did you have we also have started offering quarterly hazardous waste pickup where we didn't do that before. So I know you're not talking about hazardous waste, but what types of things were you thinking?
I was just, what is it that we would accept that they don't? Because, I mean, if we have monthly bulk pickup and we have quarterly hazardous waste pickup, should we have dumpster days at all? So I'm asking, I'd
Right.
like to hear what this gentleman has to say.
So it's probably something like mattresses and couches on y'all's normal bulk days. Y'all allow that as long as 2 people can pick it up, correct? Yes. And so there's really nothing extraordinary unless they have a lot of bulk branches, maybe. But then, that's the only difference. But we can't help them unload it really with our equipment. So they still have to be able to have that chopped down in enough small size to dump it in the dumpster themselves. And so really, it's not going to be much difference what they can offer to what we can allow them to dump in there too.
Well, you need to bring the mic to you. Just bend it down. Did she just do the top of it?
Okay, I think since I was the one who really pushed for bulk pickup, I think if what I'm suggesting for the two, one in the spring, one in the fall for the bulk pickup, for the dumpster days, if we really push for community cleanup, like other cities do, to like really push like community cleanup, like bring in your lawn mowers out of your yard, bring in your, mattresses, your sofas, and really clean up the city. If it's in us, the city council, us as a community, go and help clean up the town. And if it's along like our main street, try to get volunteers to help clean up the community. So I'm pushing to keep the one in the fall, one in the spring to do the community cleanup.
But again, the question is, what do they take at the dumpster days that they don't take for
They
the
take
bulk?
because in the bulk, because I just use the hazardous. That's something they don't take. The hazardous is the quarterly, which is the paint, and which he can speak on, but that's something that is separate.
I'm trying to identify what is the advantage to having dumpster days. I mean, why do we need it if we have monthly bulk pickup?
Because a lot of people need to, because they're not, I think it's for more than what is more. Here, you can use it. Sorry.
First of all, good evening, Mayor and council members. So I'm here to obviously answer any questions. I'm new here, been here to the area for 3 months, but since I have noticed in talking with Cynthia, as your guys' bulk that you guys are contracted twice a year, haven't seen a whole lot when we looked at the tonnage of last year versus how much we're picking up on a monthly basis on your bulk. And to answer your question, sir, as far as what will we accept on that bulk day versus monthly bulk, there's not too much difference. There's not too much difference. Maybe the difference might be the amount of bulk someone could bring to that bulk day versus what we would pick up at their home. Yes, they can, and we would pick it up at their home as long as it goes along the guidelines of cut down within a certain amount of feet, not to weigh over 50 pounds. Those are items that we can accept.
We cannot hear Ashley.
On our city website, it says that a basketball goal will not be picked up once a month. That is something that they can bring to the dumpster days. So
I believe on your website, it also states, as long as it's somewhat around 3 by 6, as long as it's somewhere around those measurements, we can get it on the truck.
right, but someone cannot cut down a basketball goal, say for instance. They cannot cut down, some people do not have a chainsaw to cut down a basketball goal, but they can bring it to dumpster day. That's where.
Well, I do know, I used to live on Troxel, and there was a neighbor next to me that had a basketball goal out for bulk pickup, and it was picked up.
Oh, it was?
Mhm.
Okay. Well, it states on our
I know you
city.
said that, and I
It's on this city. I'll have to look it up on my phone.
Okay. I don't remember that being on there, but I'll look at that.
To be honest with you, our guys, we want to provide the best service to the city. So there's probably some things that we probably go a little bit above and beyond just to clean up the city.
Part of the guidelines, what we're trying to do is, and these are guidelines we get from Waste Connections, is give reasonable guidelines. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't pick these things up, but it's, we want you to break it down. On the limbs, we do want you to, bind them, keep it 3 by 6, but they'll pick up a mattress. So, a mattress is actually bigger than 3 by 6.
Right. But again, there's a house here on School Road that's had brush sitting out there for months. But
the problem is they probably have to bind it up.
They have to bind it up. But if it's, say for instance, they're senior citizens, they're not going to go out there and bundle it up. And, if it's a community-wide event, if we go around and help, people in the neighborhood, then take it to the dumpster twice, fall and spring. That's where I'm at city council.
But the dumpster days isn't about a community-wide event. You can still have a community-wide event and go to this person's house and bundle up their trash for them.
Right.
My question is, and the agenda item is dumpster days, right? Now, did I not hear you say that you weren't filling up the dumpsters?
No, sir.
And you're.
Yeah, we're not filling up the dumpsters at all.
I think we should keep it twice a year.
So I understand both viewpoints. Dumpster days back a few years ago, I think before y'all got here, we would fill everything. But lately, the last few times I've been up there, there's nothing. But we also need to remember that there are county dumps that are open a lot more often than dumpster days. And the thing that we've been hearing forever now is we need to quit spending money and we need to save money. So it makes sense to, according to them, we're not getting our money's worth out of these dumpster days. We need to quit those and then tell people, let them know that you can still go to the county dump, because the waste service, they're taking everything that they can, everything that you're going to be able to get in the dump. So it doesn't make a difference. I say we need to get rid of them, save a little bit of money, and they can go to the county dumps.
Well, I'm glad because you voted no on bulk pickup, so
Okay.
I'm glad.
Well, I think that if we do get rid of the dumpster days, we can still have a community event. You just take it to the dump or take it out front before it's a bulk pickup for Waste Connections. You still can have that community event.
Hold on just a second.
What is the cost advantage if we quit having dumpsters? Does this guy give us more money back, or do we come out even?
Well, we save overtime.
We don't save anything on waste management.
Right. Now, what we do, we can take that towards the wastewater side.
Take what?
Give them more roll-offs. Because
take them to, in other words, still get the dumpsters and take them to the wastewater for fill, for their use, not for the dumpster days.
Right.
So we still have the dumpsters. What we don't have is Sean having to find somebody to check IDs for them. How many hours?
The overtime hours.
What if we go, and I'm just throwing this out, what if we go twice a year,
Here it is.
one dumpster, and maybe 4 hours? Not all, well, not till full, or, I don't know, is
Well,
that
we
workable?
do it. We do it 8 till noon, but I mean, we say 8 to
Oh,
full
oh,
because it
okay.
normally has in the past been full by, 10 o'clock or whatever. Now, since I've been here, it hadn't been, but, so they do wrap up at noon.
So our only financial saving is John's, whatever he was paying for
Overtime hours. Elaine's got her hand up.
I have a couple of questions. The first one is, so you talked about the overtime expense. How much money are we talking about? Are we talking $50? Or are we talking $500?
It was in the 600.
And that's for all four.
That's just for the 4 hours. That's what we just calculated this time around, 4 hours. The previous ones, we did 8 hours. And again, my guy sat there for 8 hours and we had like, less than, 15 people each time. And so I only calculated this, the springs and the falls, and that was over $600 of overtime that we spent in those 4 hours total, total 8. But it wasn't, again, the first time was only 4 people.
Okay, my next question is this. If we were to take action tonight, and this is just a scenario, I'm not suggesting, is if we decided to eliminate all 4 and we try to make the bulk pickup work for us, but then we learn through experience that that's not enough, then could we go back and reinstate one in the spring and one in the fall? I mean, is that a possibility?
Well, I would say, I mean, probably the better tack to take would be to keep one in the spring and one in the fall, see how that does when we just have one weekend instead of 2 weekends, and see if that helps get more people. I mean, versus getting rid of them and then bringing them back. I mean, that would be, I think, confusing for people, and maybe that would, in and of itself, if there's not consistency, then they wouldn't come.
So what you've just said is that expense would probably then be about $300 instead of $600. And if we did what you just mentioned there, that's basically what you have suggested.
Yeah, even if we just did even one spring cleanup, because I'm looking at, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to let you guys.
No. So because that's what I think is just doing either one spring cleanup, with a dumpster day, or doing 2, because we need to, I mean, I've been very adamant. This reason why I've really pushed for the bulk pickup for their homes is help cleaning up the town, to bringing back, where it's bringing the extra, getting, the 5 lawnmowers out of their front yard. If it's, all of the mattresses at once. I mean, because they can't, some people, they won't, do it. They're bringing their truckload.
Well, that would be then our responsibility to try to make that community effort happen.
The community effort, because on the sorry, hold on.
Oh, that's okay.
No, because I'm looking at what our website says.
Okay,
So,
well,
but yes, but I'm thinking, yes, that's really what I want to, sorry, that's really what I'm pushing. So if we can, that's like you said, it's our responsibility as city, and is to help keep it clean.
Okay.
Well, we were just bringing this to you guys to let you know the situation, and whatever direction you tell us, I mean, that's what we'll do.
So are we able to make a motion? Okay.
One more question, please. Did I hear you a moment ago say that the Public Works Department needed access to the dumpsters twice a year?
No, we have dumpsters at our treatment plants that we take the sludge. When we pull the sludge out of the treatment plant, it dries, and we put that sludge in there. Right now we get charged about $900 to $1,000, depends on the weight of it. and so some of that cost could be a savings to us. We was going to talk to them if we reduce those dumpster days, see if we could use those haul offs as a reduction to our treatment plant, which we spent $6,000 last year in hauling off sludge.
Okay.
And so that could be an offset of, not only the overtime, but also the sludge haul off too. And then also we have about $130 small 5-yard dump that they dump weekly that also has debris in it that they haul off too. So all that savings is, I think I had in there the $6,000 to $7,000 that we could save in our wastewater budget. If we reduce those, that's what we're going to talk to them. If we reduce dumpster days, because those are 6 dumpsters throughout the year that they don't fill up, that they got to haul back and forth, and those are haul-off charges that they save. If we can revert those savings to our lift station, to our treatment plants.
So, Sean, would we be able to say, because what Elaine proposed would get us down to 300 a year, and what if we said that instead of being 8 to full, we said it's from 8 to noon or 8 to 1, so that you put a cap on the number of overtime hours that we're paying?
If that's what I'm fine with that, and then we can report back in the springtime, tell you what the progress we have, give you a number of how many trucks, how many dumpsters we filled up, and then y'all can make another decision if it's viable to keep or add more based on what it is. But my thing too is just trying to save money also on our wastewater side of not hauling off the sludge, if we can associate those costs. So that's, some of the bargaining chips that we're talking to them about. If we're going to reduce dumpster days and those 12 haul offs they have compared to 4 or 5 a year, so.
Elaine, did you want to make a motion there?
You can go ahead. We had someone with their hand up back here, and we normally don't call them, so we don't have that many here today. The one that you considered the last 2 years during the dumpster day hasn't been used as much as it was in the past.
The last 4 times I've been here, the dumpster days haven't been used, so.
We can try it. Do we really need a motion, or just authorize you guys to try and see what?
Well, as long as you authorize me to do that, that's what we need, your direction.
I would feel more comfortable that we do a motion, if you don't mind. Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we reduce the number of dumpster days, to 1 in the spring, 1 in the fall. And that's it for dumpster days. And then we can
Have a reduction of hours.
and we'll reduce those hours as far as what we publicize from 8 to noon. Restricted to that.
So Elaine, you're saying twice a year, but 1 dumpster each time.
That's correct. And then we can reevaluate. And if the bulk that we do now every month, if that's really made an impact on that, I think that we'll know the full story by going to just those 2. And we can learn from that and change it if we need to. So my motion is 1 in the spring, 1 in the fall, and with hours from 8 to noon.
I second.
I still have the answer. Do I hear a second? Michelle already did. Oh, I'm sorry. Michelle's tonight. She needs to wave at me on the thing. Okay, we have a motion and a second, and let's hear all in favor.
Aye.
Do we have anyone that objects? So now, evidently, Sean, you've got your marching orders. Okay, this keeps going and going. Discussion and discussion and any necessary action regarding the recycle container that's in front of the fire station. The one that one time had a note on it, cardboard only. I don't know if it still does or not.
It's still on there, and there's it says cardboard only, but it also tells you plastic and some other items. However, it's not policed. There's nobody out there, and we recently just talked with I was about to say IES, Um,
We apologize.
yeah, but it's the same company, different name. Yeah, Waste Connections. Um, uh, there's issues of people dumping stuff in there that contaminates the whole load, and so probably for the last 2 years, that thing hasn't been taken through the recycle bin at all. It gets hauled off to the dump because it's contaminated. Anytime there's any items in there that is not considered recyclable, they can't take it. And they're not going to sort pieces through and all that stuff. That whole thing goes to the landfill just like any dump. And so now what's happening is that people are dumping construction material in there. I took pictures and sent to Cynthia during Christmas. You could see trash bags of whatever knows. But again, that becomes contamination and it gets hauled off. And so that dumpster is not being used for the purpose that it is. It's all it is now is the area wide dump, free dump for anybody. And it's causing staff issues, especially particularly the fire department when they're in their training process. They could have the area blocked off. People will drive around cones, drive around fire trucks, drive over their fire hoses. And two, it's just the constant trash pickup that the fire department and public works has to do out there because it becomes a dump catch-all. And so we're recommending to council's direction, but our recommendation is to remove because it's actually not being recycled.
Discussion? Yes.
So when we had our new contract, we talked about having recycling as our option. And as a city council, we decided not to go there in order to save money. But we thought that we had a recycling option. So now we don't have that option. And coming from a household that we recycle like crazy, and we were very disappointed to hear that it's all contaminated and, and not being recycled. Then do we have the option of negotiating about maybe doing recycling at the curb once a month or something? Is that something we can do?
That would be re-evaluating the contract itself, which, we could. I mean, we're in year two now, just in year two of a 5-year contract. Now, that's a pretty big amendment if we were going to do that. So, we'd have to check into that and talk to Waste Connections about that, because they gave pricing to us at that time. I'm sure we could, but it would be an amendment to the contract.
So do we know of any other true recycling that is nearby? I mean, I just don't know of any other place.
Does the school have anything still?
I don't know.
It's and he can probably speak more to it, but recycling is a challenge, even when it's curbside, because one thing in there contaminates the whole thing. And so, the idea is a good idea to recycle, but they can't, it's not a money-making thing. I will just tell you that, for waste companies, solid waste companies. Do you want to speak more to that?
Yes, if I can add to that. So a lot of the municipalities that we do service, they do have recycle. And as we go through, unfortunately, a lot of residents don't use the recycle can as recycle. So as we are dumping it, we're getting turned away from the recycle facilities, and we're getting sent directly to the landfill. So it is a challenge. And then obviously the challenge that we've had at some municipalities is we try to educate the customers by putting a tag and not taking, but then it just blows up, in the office when residents start calling. So it's kind of a struggle. Recycle has been pretty difficult.
I know that when we did bulk pickup in our last contract that we had some upset residents when we didn't offer recycling. And I know we're going to have upset residents when we remove the recycling dumpster bin out front.
I understand that, but once everybody learns, it's not really a recycling bin.
Right.
It's really just another trash can, like you said, that's free to anybody to dump whatever crap they want to put in it.
I did, while I was waiting outside speaking, I did see someone dropping boxes. There is, I believe, and someone might say I'm wrong, but I do believe that Boyd has something for recycling. But that was months ago when I looked, was researching it, and I'm sorry, I'll look here.
Well, I'm going to just say that I'm disappointed for our community that we don't have the opportunity to really practice recycling. But at the same time, there's no sense in that setting out there if it's just a trash can.
In previous histories, even working with school districts, like you asked school districts, I know the school district that we was part of, they did have paper, recycling, and it ended up being the same way where at that time waste management wouldn't start picking up there, and it's all paper. But again, when you have dumpsters out there free that's not monitored, people are going to abuse it, and it becomes, and so the school districts now don't even do it because nobody can monitor it.
Can the other school district, I know in one of the school districts that I've seen, they had it just for paper, and it only had like the small slat where just the cardboard can go into it. Do you have something like that?
We do not. From my previous history, there's a different company that just takes paper. So.
Okay.
So there's going to be a 7% increase on solid waste too, correct?
Right, that's in the contract,
I would love to have recycle also, but I think people would have our heads if we charge them for recycle and then a 7% increase on top of that.
And especially since we've already increased their wastewater. They're already going to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ours, yeah. We've already all been increased. So are we going to save anything on our contract with removing the recycling?
No.
No?
But it helps the fire department not to have to deal with all
It will, yes. Logistically, it's been, not only is it not recycled, and it hasn't been for the last 2 years, so it's kind of an exercise in futility, but it has been a continual issue with constant dumping outside the dumpsters, and fire and public works having to pick it up, and then when the fire is going in and out, or when they're having training events, it's just not a good location. So we can't police it. It's not a good location, and it's just the big thing is not being recycled.
So do you need a motion that says remove it?
But wait, you only know that it's not until you get to the dump. Which is common sense. You only know that it's not being recycled until it's being emptied. So as of right now, right now we all know that it's recycling. So the citizens are using it. When I go to recycle, go to the dumpster, to the container out there, I know it's recycling. I know that if I wanted to go drop my cardboard boxes it's my first time to use it, it's for recycling. You do not know, or the city does not know, that it is contaminated until they get to the dump, correct?
Well, right. There are people that are using it in good faith, and
correct.
They think they're recycling.
But in good faith. But you just said the reason why we're removing it is because it's a problem because of the fire department.
Well, no, I said the primary reason. The primary reason is because it's not being recycled.
Right. It's not, but the primary reason, one, it's not being recycled, which they don't know until if we don't say, to our citizens, okay, enforce it. We are removing it from this point on. If you do not use it for recycling only, we are going to remove it. We have to enforce it. But the other reason is because it's a hassle, because it's in the way of our fire department.
No, there's actually a safety issue too.
Monitor it?
No, I'm not saying that we need to.
Well, how do we enforce it?
Then educating the citizens.
That's not enforcement, that's education.
Well,
how do you enforce it?
Because
there will always be people that are just going to look at that and say, hey, a dumpster, I'm going to go toss stuff in.
After 2 years of not having that be a recycle, I think the precedent is set.
Yeah, and it's also more than just one hazardous of us having to pick up trash, not know what it is in that trash that we're picking up. Two is that also it's a safety issue for the fire department, because the people, when they want to go to that dumpster, they're going to that dumpster. Don't matter if there's a fire truck in the way, there's safety cones in the way, they'll drive over fire hoses. These are the issues that the fire chief brought to my attention along when we was talking about this. They have constant issues of, when they're trying to do training, that people are just been determined to get to that thing to dump something, and they will run over their safety cones and fire hoses. And so the location of that is not logistically safe for the fire department. We're just not saying it's not just because it's inconvenience. It's logistically not safe. We're talking about people, could get ran over.
Okay, so to let the citizens know that are listening to this, that we could not move it anywhere else in our city, correct? There's nowhere else in our city it could be moved to. Is there anywhere else in our city?
Again, the primary reason is because it's not being recycled. We were just bringing to your attention some of the other challenges with the location.
Location, okay. And, all right. So, do you have anything that?
When this was brought to my attention when I talked to Cynthia, and I did some digging into it. Once again, it's just about 3 months since I've arrived over here. We've actually had to switch routes and have a different driver pick this up because it's been contaminated.
Okay, and do you find this at other cities with the recycling?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what have they done at other cities?
Well, this is the challenge of trying to educate. To your point, is not accepting it, is tagging them. But this is just more calls that the city is going to get.
Well,
they didn't pick up my recycle. We put out flyers. We try to educate, things like that.
Well, with this one, since I know you said that for their homes, but for the large containers.
Well, that is speaking with whoever the business owner is or the city, saying, hey, this is not recyclable. We have put lock bars on that, but that is policed. At some businesses, but for this instance, you guys can't police it.
Okay. All right. Well, now they know. So
for just to save a little bit of time, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to accept staff's recommendation that we remove the recycling bin.
Sounds good. And I hear a second.
Second.
Saying a second. Okay. Any more conversation?
No.
Okay.
I seconded.
Everybody in.
I just want to make sure.
Oh, I'm sorry, Elaine has something else to say.
no, she seconded it, and we're all in favor.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay. So all in favor of removing the dumpster?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No.
So,
Yeah, just a small piece of information. Wise County Recycling is 2 miles west of Boyd on 114.
Thank you, Sam, for looking that up.
okay, now we're, this young man's, we don't pick on people all the time when they come, but you're probably involved with the next one. Go to item J, notification regarding increase in solid waste fees is provided in the contract. And Cynthia, here you are again.
Well, this is the contract, and this was in the contract prior. It's an automatic increase based on the CPI the preceding 12 months. And the CPI, the preceding 12 months, you've got the letter from Waste Connections in your packet. It was 7.5%, and they are going to be notifying us that they will be increasing it 7%, not the full 7.5%, and that will be effective February 1st.
So this is for an informational piece. There's nothing we can do about this. Here it is, and here's what it's costing.
Correct.
Do we have anybody with discussion? Okay, so that was more information. We'll go to item K, and hey, I think we're through with you. But appreciate your coming.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
K is discussion and necessary action regarding carport ordinance. Cynthia, this be you again.
Well, I wanted to bring this item to the agenda for your consideration and input, direction on this. I have talked with the mayor about it, but since I've been here, every carport request that's come to the council has been approved, except one now. And so it's quite an expense, I will say, to go through the specific use permit, to do the notice, legal notice in the newspaper prior to it goes to P&Z, and then it goes to council, and then we notice afterwards. So this is just a consideration to say, do you guys want to consider potentially saving money and making it administrative, just like accessory buildings and structures are done administratively? We would save money doing that. And in right now, I mean, pretty much there's 3 criteria in the ordinance, and that's in chapter 3. The specific use permit is in chapter 14, the zoning chapter. But it's basically has to be 10 foot off the side property line, and normally they're towards the front, but we had one that was more on the side, so we had to look to the back. But 5 feet off the back or the front right away. And then does it kind of blend in, is very general, does it, blend in with the, the area surrounding it and the house itself? And those are the criteria. So this is just for your consideration. If you want to leave it as is, that's fine, but I was just thinking of ways to save money, and this is something that comes through and we approve them all the time, and we could save money by not having that specific use permit.
Did you calculate how much money we spent through, or how much we would save if we didn't do it that way?
I would say each one, I don't have I didn't calculate it, but I would say with those legal notices in the newspaper are very expensive. So you're probably looking at $2,000 per carport.
Wow.
Give or take, $1,500, $2,000. Yes.
Cynthia, what I think I'm hearing is that you put in for a carport for a permit, and you send with that your drawings, your engineer drawings or whatever, so big, so wide in your plan of your land. And who decides if it fits in with the area?
Well, that's what the chapter 3 does. It's got those criteria. And so, yes, you do put a site plan on there, and so you have to draw it out, right. And to scale, so we can see if it's 10 feet off the side and 5 feet off the front.
I'm not as concerned about that as the look of the carport. We've got carports and we've got carports.
Right, but if you look at how it reads, it's pretty generic. Yeah. And Carvin actually read that to us. I had it pulled up.
It was very vague.
Right. I mean, yes, it's vague. Carvin, are you on the line?
I am.
I mean, we have to be careful about, the building materials, if you remember. Yes. But
with the carport, for instance, like the last resident whose carport was denied, also he has to resubmit the plans, go back through the process, pay another fee, a permit fee. Then we have to put it back into the newspaper, do the whole process over. So not only does it cost the city money, it also costs the resident money.
So I understand that, but something that was said, it has to fit in with the area. And that seems subjective. Did I misunderstand that?
It is. It's 303.
So are you also saying, does this only give the power back to that we're not involved as the city council, or is it only?
No, I'm just saying, who determines? Elaine might like one thing, I might like something else. And is that leaving it subjective? Or how it's, I'm for doing it. I just want to make sure we don't set ourselves up for failure.
Okay.
Well, it is currently subjective. I mean, so that part doesn't change.
Okay, what are we changing? What, you said
We're
there were three
changing the,
things.
we're changing the requirement to get a specific use permit.
Right.
So what is in chapter 3 does not change. And right now that is that kind of generic statement, and it's 10 feet off the side property. Those are the three.
Yeah, I know all that. You mentioned a third thing, something about it had to fit in with the territory or something.
Right, that's the look of it. It's very generic. Carvin, do you have that? I'm trying to pull it up, and I had it earlier.
It's generally a requirement. You want it to look consistent with the neighborhood around it. I mean, it is
That's
subjective.
what I'm talking about. Who makes that determination?
The bottom line change that you guys need to consider, and this is what I think staff needs direction on, is under your current zoning ordinance, you have to post notice if you're going to issue one of these special use permits regarding a carport. What your city administrator is trying to avoid is that cost associated with amending the zoning ordinance through the SUP process. And so what she's proposing is to use the same standards that you have set out. We would move them out of the zoning ordinance and we would put them over it and allow it to be an administrative decision that she would make at her level. And then if that decision is not acceptable to the applicant, then they would still have a right to appeal it up to the council if they don't like the outcome of their decision. But the real savings is just in the posting of the notice, and any text amendments to zoning ordinance, which an SUP is essentially a text amendment, require posting and they require time. And it's just one way to save some of that expense is to move it to an administrative level decision.
And I certainly understand that. I guess what I'm concerned about is, does it fit in? Like the other night, we had something in the P&Z used the term, I believe, well, it's the first one. Well, so a first one will not fit in, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm trying to avoid that confusion.
Elaine has something.
So if we make this change, it would be that it would take P&Z out of the procedure, and it would take neighbors out of the procedure, and it would take the city council's action out of the procedure. And so instead of going in, they would go in and ask for a permit, just like you do with an accessory building, and they would be given information about those requirements. And so really nothing changes other than the procedure that we go through, which also eliminates that $2,000 cost to the city. And so I'll have to say that I think it's important that we handle accessory buildings and carports the same way, in that it takes P&Z out of the hot seat, it takes neighbors out of the hot seat, and it also takes the city council out of the hot seat, so to speak. So to not have that tension and all the time that everybody's putting in, as well as $2,000, I think we ought to consider it.
Well,
Like,
Carvin, let me just, I know the mayor, you were talking about the look and it being somewhat nebulous. Carvin, is there a way that we could add in chapter 3 where we have the 10 feet, I mean, the criteria that is currently there? We have 3 criteria. It's 10 feet, 5 feet, and the look, the general look, consistent with the neighborhood. So that's already there. Can the council consider anything that would maybe make it a little bit more specific?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we could bring back some proposed language that might fine tune it a little bit, but guys, don't get too complicated. A carport's a carport. So
I disagree because, I mean, you just went through this. I mean, that you're, I mean, we're taking away from the citizens. We're here to serve the citizens. And if they do not want to look at their neighbor that wants to put up a, you know, 2-story carport that next door to their house, it's only given, our city administrator and the building inspector the right to go and build it. I mean, it can be that. We want our citizens to come and speak to us. That's who comes and speaks at the podium, and it gives, you are here at PNC, I listened to you, I've got up and spoke the same thing. It's the building materials or not, but that's who we listen to. That's who PNC listens to. We're all citizens of this community. And I don't want to give the right to just one person. And I think that we need to keep it to PNC and keep it to the city council. That's what we're elected to do, and that's what they are.
So do you think all that's worth to the city?
Yeah, it's $2,000. That's $2,000. It's what's in our budget. So yes, I'm here to fight for the citizens. That's the reason why I was elected. That's the reason why you're elected.
$2,000 per carport.
Per carport.
We fight for the citizens in
That's
all
right.
the decisions we make. So I've got to fight for the citizens by asking, how is the standard for specifying a carport different from an accessory building? Because if I am to accept your argument about carports, then the same argument applies to an accessory building, and that should go before the P&Z also.
Correct.
And so we go slope and have everything that's permitted go before the P&Z. And now let's stop let's stop the silliness, because we can only afford to do it because of just how stinking small we are. I mean, once Rome starts to grow, then the number of these things is going to become unruly, because, let's go extreme. The city council of Dallas does not approve carports. Okay, it wouldn't even cross their mind. That's going to be a permitted item. Okay, so right now we have the luxury because of how small we are. So let's try to be consistent, and everything else doesn't require a permit. Doesn't go before the P&Z. What is it that is so special about carports? Can you distinguish carports beyond everything else?
Yes, a carport, but what you were first saying was an accessory building. An accessory building, somebody can turn that into a pool house. They can turn that into, can you mute the people behind me? Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. I didn't know who that was. They can make it into a pool house. They can make it into a mother-in-law suite. They can build anything. Accessory building. It could be a separate garage. And so
we do have criteria.
There's
on
criteria and on, but criterias are not. Somebody, we're a small city, and I've seen other things built. We don't monitor enough. So I'm all in favor of keeping it what we have and fighting for the city citizens. That's what I was elected. I can go on and on. The $2,000 is, we spend money everywhere else, and, keep it the way it is.
So I've got to fight for some of our citizens, and I'm a homeowner. And if I want to build something on my property, I should have the right to be able to build it on my property with minimal government interference. And as long as I'm following the criteria that's in the ordinance, it shouldn't have to go to 6 or 12 people by the end of it, and for 12 different people to decide if I can build a carport on my property. As long as I'm following the A, B's, and C's in our ordinance, and that's it. Now, if you want somebody to determine if you can build a carport or any other building or whatever, go get a HOA. We don't have those over here. Okay? So I'm for putting this under administrative tasks. Makes it a lot easier, and it makes it a lot quicker decision for the individual instead of dragging it out for what could be a couple of months by the time it gets through everything. And it saves the city a lot of money as well. So $2,000 per carport, we've done, what, 4
And,
5 in the last year.
5 or 6, I think, since I've
So
been
we're
here.
looking at $10,000 to $12,000 that we could be saving in countless hours and stuff. So I'm for putting it under city administrative tasks.
Well, and
You'll
I'm
make
not
that a motion, I'll second
Can
it.
we
I'm
word
against it.
what it
What I'm
says in
just
there?
asking, it's kind of unclear what that third thing is. You know, I mean,
Well, what I wanted to do
yeah,
tonight, and let me just say this. I mean, I wasn't here when this all went down, but to me, what probably happened is that the city council wanted more control over these carports for whatever reason. Again, I don't know the history, and that's why it was set up as a specific use permit. The reason I'm bringing this to you guys for your consideration is because everyone except for one has passed since I've been here. So if they're all going to pass, it just it seems like you can get where you want to go by controlling a little bit more in the ordinance itself, like we do with accessory buildings. So we would just increase that criteria if we want to. So I didn't want to, what I need to know from you is if you want me to, then I will go back and spend time on this. If you don't, then I have other things I can spend time on. This is just something I'm looking at, and we can streamline the process and save money if that's something that you guys are interested in.
So can you be, before we make a motion, so can we, like Carvin said, can we be more restrictive to more guidelines? That's what I'm concerned, because whenever I used to come to city councils and everything, it was because they were putting up the metal sheds, and that's what I don't want to see come back. And in the backyard, you know, because in the accessory buildings and using it as carports, you know, that I don't want to see in the backyard. You know, our car, you know, that's what it was. It was the metal sheds that were carports that I'm not going to go into describing.
How about a
But
motion?
I guess being more restrictive. We can come back to be more restrictive.
Well, right, so I can come back, and so that third thing that is somewhat nebulous, and it's, you know, does it go with the house, the neighborhood, is it consistent? So we can put a little bit more meat on that and bring that back to you.
Okay.
But I didn't, again, if y'all aren't interested, then, you know, we won't do that, but that's.
I'm for it if we're restrictive. So that's what I just want to be for the citizens.
Would you entertain a motion to move this under administrative tasks with the direction to look at the wording to be a little bit less subjective?
Would that would that work?
Well, yeah, I'm okay with that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm right now, the fact that it is subjective is, I mean, as Carmen said, we're just talking about carports here, right? When you start looking, and I know a lot of people hate it when I get into the history of our country, our Constitution is quite subjective in how it's written. And now when we get into laws being passed, oh my gosh, you need a degree in law just to be able to read the stupid things. Okay? It's like you write it down and it says in the ordinance, I mean, its appearance is in conformity with that of the residential structure to which it is attached. Okay, yes, that's subjective, but it's also pretty clear. Okay? How much clearer do you want to make it? Do you want to say it has to be of the same brick? Okay, you should have bought, I mean, if you have a brick house, then you have to have brick on your carport? Is that where you're going? I mean, you're right, it's subjective. Let's leave it the way it is. So, I'll make a motion that we move it, take staff's recommendation, move it under permitting with accessory buildings, and leave the wording the way it is.
Second.
I was for what we were motion for.
Under discussion, what I would tell you, we're gonna have to bring it back because this is a change to the zoning. And so we've got to notice this. There will be a public hearing on this, and we'll have to notice it. So we will be bringing it back to you. But I didn't want to go through all of that and notice it unless, there's general consensus that this is how you all want to go.
And you're saying we don't need a vote now because you're coming back.
Well, I would like a vote that you guys, this is generally how you would like to proceed. Or else we're going through, the motions.
So the motions have been made, seconded, so we need a vote.
Yes.
You do want to vote?
Yeah.
Come back.
Please.
Okay, we will now call for the vote. Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? It approved unanimously. Now we're moving on to discussion and necessary action regarding updating our sign ordinance. Council Member Majors.
Sorry. I'll just get closer. Yes, this is going over our sign ordinance. It's over a few of our signs that are in need of repair, that are dilapidated and that are substandard. And so that is 51% that are damaged of the neon tubing are out with that we need to see if the city council can get the authority for the painting, repair, or removal of the sign. We just need to keep the city and to promote the city image, especially on 287. So if you know the signs that I'm speaking of that need to be either removed or fixed by the business owners, there's one of them in particular that has been out for 3 years now, that the business has not been there, and it is Grandy's that has been closed, and I think the sign needs to be down, or the new business should be there. The new business owner should have their sign. I've looked at other sign ordinance for other cities, and they show that 51% of the signs should be, taken down. And one of them, it says that 51% of a damaged sign, no neon tubing out, and electrical inspectors shall make an inspection from time to time to make sure they're also working. And it also gives the city council authority in order to make this decision. So I just wanted us to discuss it, to see what we can do to get these signs taken down. So, or, what we can do to the business owners to make sure that they're keeping our city beautiful. So, y'all have any input or anything? Cynthia?
Well, when you and I talked about this, you gave a couple of tangible things that we could look at. Staff can go back and look at what some other cities are doing. When we have a sign ordinance, we want to make sure that we're making it applicable to everyone. We don't want to be making ordinances to address one situation. But I think that it's a point well taken that there's other cities that address dilapidated signs, and it's by 51% of the area or whatever that criteria is. So I think it's something that we can go back and look at and bring something back for you all to consider. So as I'm understanding, your concerns are again, I don't want to be specific because we got to look at everybody, right? But basically making sure that we have working signs.
Yes.
And then what was the other one with the two? I didn't.
That just working signs, that they're painted, that their signs are flashing. There's no tubing out. Let me see. I have it. The painting. Just the neon signs. That was pretty much it. Just that they're beauty. They're all working.
Okay. So let me go back and look at some other ordinances and how other people, other cities are addressing those types of things, and I can
Yeah,
bring
and
something
also
back.
there, do not pose any hazardous, that says that they don't pose any hazardous, and that make sure it's safety to the public as well. Was the only thing I found. So, but we just need to make sure it's keeping our city beautiful.
I have no objection to signs being cleaned up, okay? So please don't take this the
No.
wrong way. But I do object to additional government regulation and trying to regulate how a business operates. Typically, citizens, if they don't like the look of a building or they don't like the sign that the business has, that typically hurts business. So if they don't have their neon sign lit, I've been known to drive past a place and say I'm not going in there because it looks like it's not properly maintained, it's not properly managed, and so I don't go there. And so I exercise my right to not spend my money. And it's a survival of the fittest with businesses. Um, I really hate imposing. I hate imposing regulations on telling somebody how to run their business. And okay, if they've got a crappy sign, I'd like to see it fixed. I really would. But the guy may not have the money. He's doing the best he can to run his business, and taking down that sign, fixing that sign, just may not be in the cards. I have a business that I frequent all the time. They've decided to change the name, but they can't afford to change the sign out front. So they still have the old sign with the old business name out front, but they answer the phone differently. Okay, well, they're going to get to it. So to me, this is kind of a philosophical. I don't want to try to impose restrictions and fees and such on businesses because we don't like their sign.
So is this another item that the code enforcement person would be charged with?
I think this is going to be more on a building official side
Okay.
than code.
Let me just say that good conversation with our businesses is critical. And what I'm going to say is that Mr. Owner of that sign has made a verbal suggestion at one of our initial economic development meetings that he would be interested in and offer some of the signage area that he has to promote businesses in Rome. And so he may have a vision for that old sign. We didn't pin him down exactly, what he was talking about, but he did make that comment at the meeting. And so good conversation with those folks that have non-working signs. Maybe that's how we really approach them, is to say, that your sign's not working. Did you have any special plans for that? Is that something that that we could use in the economic development? But he wanted to not necessarily. He was looking at a way to promote all the businesses or additional businesses, maybe business of the month. I think is one of the things he mentioned. So I'm just saying. He knows it's not working, and he's got kind of a percolating thing going on in that particular situation. Now that doesn't take away from the fact that there's probably other signage that's been sitting there for years and it's dilapidated, and there is no vision for some of those.
Yeah, there's quite a few. He's not the only one. There's quite
Yeah.
a few in this city, and that's y'all. I mean, it's just like there's a building that I've the one who's really pushed for substandard buildings within our community. That was one of the ordinances that I pushed. So this is a substandard sign ordinance that I'm pushing just to help clean up our community and to bring in businesses. So that's something that I'm not trying to attack businesses, but it's also to help, to beautify our community,
Sure,
our city. So it's just another ordinance that I would like to see. I mean, we don't want to just go after them and say, okay, well, I want the sign taken down. I mean, we could say, okay, well, you have, however many months or whatever the cost may be. I mean, it's just to put it in our ordinances so they know this is what would happen. And I mean, it's just like you can't have on Main Street, you can only have monument signs for down, Main Street and BC Rome. You can't have an 8-foot sign, I know Sam is adamant on certain signs, that, so, I mean, we all have, our goals and mission. I just really want to I really like this to help keep our community, especially we have prime real estate on 287. And I am trying to get businesses to come. We have not had any business. Quick Trip came to us. We have not had any other businesses coming to Rome since I've been on city council and since I've lived here. So
that's something that you guys are just going to work on. We don't need any motion for tonight. Is that correct?
I just brought it to Cynthia. There were some other items that her and I spoke about, but that was something that I've been wanting to speak. It was about signs. It's another substandard. It's another substandard thing that I'm pushing to clean up.
So I have a couple thoughts on this before we stop. Again, this goes back to we can't even keep up with our own buildings and our own property right now. So to tell a business that you need to go fix your stuff, I don't see it sitting well. And I think what Carvin and Cynthia were getting to is we have to be careful with this, because if we go past an ordinance that says you can't have your sign burned out for 30 days, and then next week we go tell them, well, you got to fix this, it looks like we're attacking that business. So I think before we, try to tell any business they got to clean their stuff up, we need to maybe extend some professional courtesy, maybe reach out to these businesses, say, hey, do you have any plans on getting this stuff fixed? Maybe work with them a little bit. Maybe we can give them some volunteer work, or see what their plans are on getting the stuff fixed before we just attack them and say, we're going to fine you if you don't do it. So,
well, nobody wants to. Did you already talk to Carvin and Cynthia about this? I mean, would you already talk to Carvin? I mean, about this ordinance, what I'm proposing?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, you said Carvin. I didn't know, but I mean, I'm not
what
saying.
They were getting to is we have to be careful about the ordinance, and you're pointing out a couple of things. If we pass an ordinance, it looks like we're attacking those businesses. We have to be careful with posting it and then saying you got to go fix your stuff. That's, I think, where they were saying we got to be careful.
Well, you just look into what we can do. Other cities that are doing this, I brought it up to you. I have another city that I've put, because there's another one that you just look into other cities that are for sign ordinances is what I can. That's what I would like for
to go. Yes.
If you could look into other city for sign ordinances, because we just need something to help bring in for businesses and to help our community. So that's all I'm asking.
How about, I'd like to propose, because Josh just said something that made me think, how about after we have our discussion on the 22nd and we start working towards what we're going to do with our substandard buildings, that let's try not to be hypocritical about saying you got to get your stuff fixed, but we don't have to have ours. Let's get our stuff fixed up. Let's fix our buildings and get our stuff up to code. And after we get our things up to code, then we can start talking to other businesses about getting theirs. But let's take care of our own house first. And we can revisit this later.
Okay, and what I'd like to see on that thing, same thing, Cynthia, I think you and I have talked about it, the part of that ordinance that relates to political signs it's kind of ambiguous, and if we said 45 days instead of, I believe, 15 days prior to election, it would clarify when you can put out political signs.
It currently says 30 days, right, before the election?
Is it 30?
It says 30 days, but it says election now, it's implied that it's days, and election day versus the start of early voting. So you're still getting, I mean, and what you and I had talked about was putting the word day in there, election day, because it's 30 days before the election, which basically is 15 days before early voting, because early voting happens, 15 days before election day.
Right.
Unless you wanted to put 45 days.
Well, I think what I'm looking at is people that are running for office and they don't know when they can put their signs out with the 30-day, because election day, like you say, is 30 days or whatever after you can start doing your early voting signs. So it's complicated, and I think most people don't really care what the number of days is as long as it's clear, you know.
So it would be adding the word day, because right now the ordinance says election, 30 days before the election. So we can change it to be, and this would be ministerial, I would think, Carvin, but just clarifying that election actually means the election day and not early voting.
Let's do that.
We might even be able to just publish that on the city's calendar, and just each year we could put the date, a 30-day date of when signs could go up, and just make it clear that anybody.
No. Carvin, let's put it on the ordinance, because, oh my God, we've brought this up so many times, so many years in a row. Let's put this stupid issue to rest. 30 days, election day, and let's be done with it.
Okay, now and Sam, you could do the numbers. What does that do to early voting?
It has no impact on early voting. Absolutely none. It's 30 days before election day.
And that covers early voting.
Whether there's early voting or not is irrelevant. It is 30 days before election day. Let's just say 30 days before election day.
What does that do to people that are running for office? What does it do for early voting for your sign? Yeah. Carvin, what does that do for on the signs for early voting? What day can you put the signs out? Is it 30 days to
30 days before the election?
Okay, we're just confirming. This has been a huge ordeal. We're just confirming with Carvin. No, this is Cynthia. This has been a big...
I know. That's why.
So we're just confirming with the attorney. So
that has been my ruling as a city attorney, that it's 30 days from the election day.
30 days to election. But she's wanting.
Early elections does not change the time calculation.
Okay, but Carvin, I think what Ashley's asking, how many days before early election can a sign go out? I mean, early voting.
Again, the only regulation that we have is tied to the election day. So for early voting,
I realize that, but let's go back and make it realistic.
No, let's just leave early voting and make it 30 days before the election day. Period.
Okay, but what does that do to the time frame?
That has nothing to do with early voting.
It would be 15 days.
Election day. If we want to have 6 months of early voting.
He just said. What? Carvin, will you repeat that, please?
It would generally be the 15 days. If we allow early voting 15 days prior to the election, then it would just shorten. I mean, they would just. It wouldn't change the actual date when signs can go up for everybody.
But I guess and I can't find. I thought I had a calendar here and I don't see it. I don't know how many days before the regular election does early voting start. That's one of my questions. 15. Is it 15 days?
15 days, yes.
15 days.
You have
15 days is early voting. So you can put your sign. You can put your sign out 45 days. No, wait. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get in my head.
Okay, I'm stopping. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, let's move on.
Move on.
No, let's don't move on. Let's settle this. Uh-huh.
Is that right, Sam?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
But
I-
when is,
I don't understand what.
when does early voting start? So you cannot put them out until early voting starts. Is that what you're saying?
Election day is May
Uh-huh.
1st. Let's just say May 1st. And early voting starts April 15th.
Uh-huh.
May 1st to count back 30 days, probably what would that be? April 1st, around there. So that's going to be about 15 days before early voting. April 1st, April 15th, May 1st.
So I guess what I'm asking is anybody running for office, do they want to have their signs out other than the day early voting starts? Would you not want your sign out
You'd have 2 weeks before the
if
early
it
voting.
says 30 days?
Yes.
I'd have to have a count. I think
He
it
said
was.
yes. Garvin said yes. That's right.
Okay, so then we need to change the ordinance to identify election day. Right?
Right, we just add the word day because right now it says 30 days before the election,
Uh-huh.
which is implied election day, not early voting.
So if we do that, then we clear everything. And I know we cannot control where people put signs and all that, but the ordinance does tell you where you can put them. And we've had a lot of complaints from people saying, nobody asked me, they just stuck a sign in my yard. And as Cynthia pointed out to me, that is a civil action. That's nothing we can take care of here. So if anybody is running, please make sure where and get permission to put your signs out. Okay,
She's
I
changed
give
that
up.
today.
So
You have-
45,
Hey,
so we,
Garvin, make sure that you change the wording on that ordinance so that if it goes in front of the Supreme Court, there's no question. Okay? Should you consult the Attorney General? I mean, because we've been doing this for years.
and it's been confusing for years, Sam, so now I think we have fixed it. on the
Everybody,
thing.
everybody okay?
Garvin, you good?
I'm good. Let me take a run at fixing that and I'll bring it back to you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, let's go on now to
Guess we're all
item
running for
M.
office again.
Huh?
Guess we're all running for office again.
Yeah, who knows on the thing. M, discussion and any necessary action regarding the citizen forum on facilities, and it should also say in the future of Rome. Elaine Priest, you are tagged.
Okay, I've never been to a town meeting before, and so I was just, well, and what you just said, I don't remember that we said that it was going to involve anything but facilities, but I still just wanted to know how it was going to work. Do people have to uh, fill out a form in advance? Are we going to be able to have a flow of conversation? If some people are participating um, virtually, do they fill out a form so that we know to be sure and call on them?
No, we're not going to go with forms. We're going to try to be friendly to our audience and to let them come. And if that screws up, it's on me. But I believe with the people that would care about our city, they would respect each other and that we could hear from all of them. As you all know, there will be no decisions made on that day. It's just general information. So I think we can chance it and hope. It's a 2-hour meeting. Cynthia will be setting it up for, I'm not trying to say for virtual and phone. And of course here we'll have some. So it's going to be a hodgepodge, but I believe it'll work. And I think we've got a lot of people, hopefully, that are looking forward to it.
And so, Carmen, my question to you is, are there any rules or regulations for town meetings, or can we just have it be free-spirited like the mayor suggested?
You can do it as the mayor has suggested. The only rule or statute that governs is the Open Meetings Act, and that just requires that you post the meeting 72 hours in advance. As I'm listening to you guys, you would have one item on your agenda. It would simply be the forum on facilities, and the mayor
No,
is the.
sir, it's also should have been, and Cynthia has been asked to say facilities and future of Rome to
Okay.
allow various
Okay.
discussions.
You just have that
But we
one
can-
item, and you'd be able to discuss it and cuss it as much as you want to. And the presiding officer would manage the meeting. The mayor would designate and recognize people, and presumably, you depending on how many people show up, you'll need to establish, mayor, in your mind, some kind of time limit, just so that you'll give everybody a chance, a fair shot at getting a chance to speak. But the presiding officer runs the meeting. At some point, the presiding officer will presumably turn to the other council members and ask them if they have anything they'd like to add, and you guys can discuss it as long as you want. And then at some point, you'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting, and you're done. You will keep minutes of the meeting, and it'll be essentially just like any other meeting. It's just a one agenda item meeting.
Two agenda. We're going to have to split it in two agendas, and I think Cynthia will be correcting that.
On that, because no, I did not know that it
Now,
was.
what I sent you, and I have copies of them, that says facilities and future of Rome.
Okay,
So
well,
we'll
that's new
discuss
to
that
me,
later
but I
on.
mean, again, if that's what it is, then that's what it is, but I did not know that.
Well, you had information about it, and we'll
No,
discuss
ma'am,
that
I did not.
tomorrow. Yes, you did. I'll show you my copies that I sent
If you would please
tomorrow.
send those to me.
No, I'll hand them to you.
Okay.
So the citizens will be able to, once that is handled, they will be able to talk about the facilities and future, because that is going to be, they are going to ask the future.
What are you doing with
Yes.
water?
What are you going to be doing?
Sewer.
Yes.
We want to be able.
I mean, that's their opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when they get all of us together, they're going to ask. I mean, at Lane, they're going to ask you all sorts of questions.
Well,
So-
and I don't mind answering those questions, but I certainly, I'm not going to sidestep anybody's question about that. But what I really had hoped, and what I thought that I understood when this was first brought up, and we agreed to do that, was that we wanted to know what people thought about the buildings, what their ideas were on how to go about, getting us in compliance before we get sued or something, because we have all of these dangerous buildings that we're expecting our employers and employees and staff to work in. And so that was really what I was kind of expecting, was that somebody may have had some thoughts about, properties and which buildings and different, just creative ideas.
And that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah, but I really
if we
hope.
make this successful, then 3 months from now, we may have another one, and we might pick up more residents that want to participate in the town hall meetings, whatever we're going to call it.
Sorry.
The other things, the other issues that people want to ask questions about, they have the right to ask that question, ask questions about any of that kind of stuff anytime. But for us to be the listeners and have the opportunity for that brainstorming and that vision, because a lot of folks have very valuable past experiences, and we can't think of everything for everybody. So I was really looking forward to the creativeness to help us with the facilities. Yeah.
Right.
As well as maybe even we get this roadmap, if you will, and maybe prioritizing stops on the roadmap.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to have to be a lot of information and give and take, and certainly no decisions will be made, but the thoughts will go forward.
Okay. To answer Kathy Coffey when she spoke earlier, well, when she spoke, she asked about if the buildings would be open. Are we going to, since we are meeting here, are the residents going to be able to walk into to the kitchen?
Well,
I had initially talked about having an open house that week before, but the mayor, you didn't want to do that. So it was just going to be.
Weather and the COVID and the whole thing.
Right.
And again, if somebody calls Eli, myself, and can I go see Building X, we can say, sure, I'll meet you there. No, you know.
Well, I think maybe that's not you and me to do. I think that's probably Public Works to do, because there's a certain liability of having people in, especially in some of those buildings where they might fall or stuff.
Right, but I think what she's saying is because
We
the
can
citizens,
arrange it.
right, the
Yeah.
citizens that reach out to us, I think that's where she's saying, because the residents, know us, it's because we've been talking to the residents and reaching out to them, is saying, please, we need you to come, and then directing them. So Cynthia, don't shake your head, but I don't know if you're shaking your head at this, but like reaching, to get them back to come and saying, please, contact City Hall. Because I'm telling people, we need you to come and speak and, to the facilities and future, because your bond didn't pass. So it's not just the facilities here, it's also with the future of Rome, because it's, the future of what the next road that is leading. So
I will just make one correction.
Yes, ma'am.
It was not my bond.
I know it's not your bond.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
know. I
No, but hey, we'll cut that one. No, ma'am. Sorry. Sorry, we'll change subject real fast.
Well,
We'll
you
change
like-
it.
You like doing the Barb thing, and
No,
but-
we'll change it, but no, I've been pushing it to get everybody to come. So, but to Kathy Coffey, did she ask anything else? Whenever just to kind of
Let me see.
hold on, if anybody before we say anything, did she? I know she asked about the tour. Did she say anything?
She didn't say too much more than that.
Okay, but at least I know I'll try to answer the citizens.
And she did comment on seeing the building.
Okay.
On the
She
thing,
did.
yeah.
Okay, well, at least we helped one. I hope she comes. And anybody else, if they're on the line, please, we need you to come. And will somebody, I know since they're going to be online. Oh,
I did ask what the procedure was going to be, if there's a time limit, and if everybody was going to get a chance to speak or just a certain few.
Everybody will be given an opportunity. Hopefully, we will not have to have a time limit.
Mayor, I was just about to, since we can't respond to him. Cynthia, that's what I was going to ask. Since they're going to be online, are we going to, are they going to be able to, are we going to monitor the...
Well, ideally, we want to have an orderly meeting. So
Right.
if people want to talk, then we still need to have them call in by noon. And Mayor, you and I discussed this, but by noon on Friday, if they're going to be online,
Okay.
so we can have a list of everybody. It's not precluding that they couldn't, but if we want to have an organized, productive meeting, everybody has a turn to talk and share their ideas. We've got to have some order.
Okay.
Now, if they show up just like at a council meeting, just fill out a form so that we can call on people to come up.
But what I'm saying, when they're speaking here, I guess what I'm saying, if they need to, have questions, are we going to make sure they can just, how are we going to monitor? Are they going to raise their hand and everything?
So online, there is an option there in the bottom
raise it.
left corner
Sorry.
to raise your hand. So you can see if somebody raises their hand.
And if somebody's calling in, how do we make sure we catch them? Because sometimes we don't hear it.
That's what we're saying. There's a raise your hand option on the system. So if you raise your hand, it'll flag us on this computer, and then we can see who's raising their hand.
But on the phone, they'll just speak out.
Then on the phone, then they're gonna have to say, "I'd like to speak." Or something.
Caller.
Just
Yeah.
keep hollering at
Okay.
us if we don't.
But I just want to make sure that we're getting everybody and taking care of the citizens. So we want everybody to take part in this.
And to make it as easy on the citizens.
Yep.
As we can. We don't want to make it, we want your social security number and your firstborn.
Thank you for bringing this up. So.
I've never been to one, so
No,
I didn't
but
know.
thank you for bringing it up so we can get everybody to come. Thank you.
Okay, now we're moving on to something that shouldn't be too controversial. Cynthia, resolution naming the official newspaper of the city of Rome for the 2022 calendar year.
So this is something you do every year, and again, primarily the purpose is so people know where to get their public information, the notices that we post.
I motion to approve.
I second.
For
Oh,
what?
Wise
You gotta
County
name the
Messenger.
paper.
Your motion's for the Wise County Messenger, right?
Well, we didn't say Wise
And I
County
second it.
Messenger. So,
We blew through that.
so do we have a motion, Sam, for the Wise County Messenger,
Josh made the motion and I seconded it.
for the Wise County Messenger? I did not hear that word.
Josh, say it
Yes,
again.
the motion is to accept this as the Wise County Messenger as a Rome official paper.
Okay, and just gossipy off the side, there's an article today that there's a big announcement coming from the Wise County Messenger tonight. So here's hoping we still have one, but we'll see what tonight's announcement was. So, okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, now Cynthia has done a bunch of work. I'm not sure how many pages that she's attached, and I'm sure all of y'all have read each and every one of them. She is changing the various ordinances that refer to the city secretary will to the city administrator will. Do I have any objections or a motion that we accept what she's done?
I believe this is just ministerial, so I motion to approve making the changes as recommended.
And a second? And Michelle seconded. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
No, anybody opposed? Okay, now we're going on to P, which is pretty cut and dried. Discussion and necessary action regarding updating finance ordinance to be in compliance with federal law as applicable.
So this is, again, just a ministerial thing. Right now, the ordinance says it would be in compliance with the state law, because we have in the past, and we do now, with community development block grants and ARPA funds. We want to have that in there, the federal law is applicable in the ordinance as well. Again, the grants have requirements, whether they're state or federal, to be in compliance. So even if it weren't in the ordinance, you still have to comply with the grant. But this just lets everybody know that we're going to be in compliance with both state and federal.
I motion that we approve the updating of the ordinance so that we are in compliance with law.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And now we're going to move on to item Q, discussion and necessary action on a code of conduct ordinance. Sam, it's got you listed.
Thank you. Yeah, I just think it's about time that we state, let's all behave ourselves. Let's not abuse our authority, and let's be held accountable for it. And I have gone through the draft that Carbon's put together, and one of the things that I found amusing, I guess it's not clear enough in the draft ordinance. I believe the whole point is that you don't go and misbehave while you're outside of a council meeting for council members, that we only have authority during meetings. Like when we talk about hiring and firing and, you know, different powers that the council has, that's only during a meeting. Okay? If we are not in a meeting, we have no authority over any employee of the city. Okay? Somebody goes in and, you know, if we start talking to one of the officers and we say, I want you to start doing such and such, well, The officer, you're putting that officer in a, between a rock and a hard place because he recognizes that's a council member saying it. But the officer also knows that's not something that came from the direction of the council. Okay, so that you're putting that officer in a bad position. Or if we were to talk to somebody in public works, you're putting that public works person in a bad position. Don't be talking to them and asking them to do things, period. Okay, because we as council members can only do that in our capacity as council members if we make a motion, we have a vote, and we direct the police department or public works or the fire department or somebody else to do something specifically. Okay? And I like that it's been brought out in this draft ordinance, listening to Mrs. Beecraft, maybe it wasn't clear enough, Carmen, that this behavior is something that is for outside of, when we're talking about behavior outside of the council. You follow me, Carmen?
Yes, I think I'm following you.
Okay. So, so much that, because as I read through the code of conduct, so much of it we learned when we were in kindergarten. Okay? Because, there was even one that I read, it's like, come on, behave yourself, be nice to, be nice to people, right? Don't go sit there and create some kind of a, uncomfortable, hostile environment. And this is whether you're a council member, the mayor, anybody. I like that we've now codifying, go damn it, behave yourself. When you're talking to somebody, recognize who you are, what your position is, and the position you're putting someone else in. Okay? So, I think this is a really good draft, Carmen. But if you could,
I don't want to take full credit for it. This is a compilation of several cities' documents, and Cynthia and I, we cut and paste what we thought would make sense for our city.
As mayor, I would like to caution the council to thoroughly review the proposed code of conduct. As Sam is just saying, it is basically saying treat everyone with respect. That should be the way the governing body would act anyway. We shouldn't have to have, and I'm not sure if this is a resolution or a law. There's confusion on that can be ironed out. There is no penalty for violation like the $2,000 spent for a social media policy that has no teeth. How much did it cost for this, and what will be the final cost? Carvin, I hate to say this, but legal review is not cheap. This could be another $2,000 situation. What really bothers me on the whole thing is the last paragraph. And if each of you will read the last paragraph, it says, no mayor, council member, board, or commission member shall interfere with the city administrator's administrative duties of appointment to and removal of persons from employment with the city, except for the purpose of inquiry. The mayor and council members shall deal with the city departments and city employees for which the city administrator is responsible solely through the city administrator, and neither shall give orders to any of the subordinates of the city administrator, either publicly or privately. Now, this hits the mayor and the council. It's also a violation of state law. We don't have a city manager, just as an administrator who, in my opinion, appears to want to operate without any oversight or guidance from the council, let alone the mayor. As a council, is this what you want? Are you not taking over what you were charged to do? And if you want this, why do we even need a mayor or council? I believe this should not be validated And if y'all will remember, what has happened in Aurora could actually end up happening in Rome. And we are employees. What this is saying is if I go in, which I have not, but say in Public Works, Sean, or wherever, nobody would be allowed to talk to me. If I go see chief, police chief, I have to make sure I don't say anything to anybody. I have to be quiet. I don't think this is the intent that was why this was written, but it has a terrific impact. I say, do not accept it. Yes, Elaine?
Well, I'm not an attorney, but when I read this last paragraph, my interpretation is a little different than yours. And so I just like to tell you what I thought that I read is that it says no mayor and no council member and no board or commission member shall interfere and et cetera, et cetera. What it does say under our oath of office and under our responsibilities is that as a city council, we are the ones that give direction. So this talks about individuals. This does not talk about the whole of the city council. So me as a council member, notice there's no S there. So it's speaking of an individual. I have no right to go in and put pressure on the administrator or public works or the fire chief or any other person because I am not authorized to do that as an individual. However, if I have concerns about any of those people, their actions, their duties, maybe I feel like that they're not doing all their duties, then it's my responsibility as a council member to put it on the agenda and bring that concern to the city council. And we all work together then on exploring that, discussing that, researching that, and if we want to take action to change any of those things that in this case our administrator has been authorized to do, then the city council as a whole has the ability and the right and the responsibility to make sure that all that she is doing, in this case a she, sometimes our next administrator someplace down the pike might be a he, that the city administrator does take direction from the city council as a whole. So I interpreted this paragraph to be that as individuals, we do not have the right to go in and tell someone or put pressure on them or somehow compromise that work climate when the city council has already given direction to the administrator or a staff member. And if we're not happy with the performance, or if there's changes that we want to make, or if there's directives that we want to give, such as, we'd like to have a little better communication with what's going on with the hiring and firing, then that needs to be on the agenda, and every one of us have the right to put it on the agenda, and then we talk about it, and then we come up with the plan and take action if we feel that is needed. So I didn't read that paragraph to be that none of us can do that, that we as a city council that we're just going to let people run amok. No, I think that paragraph is intended that as individuals we do not have that right. So Carbon, let me ask you, what is the intent of that paragraph?
We're next.
Can't hear you, sir.
You're muted, Carbon.
And I really give a great answer there. It would be my interpretation that you have stated it fairly accurately, that individual members of the council or any of our boards or commissions would not have the authority to go directly to employees of the city and give them any direction. It would only be reserved to the city council as a whole. And then as a council, you communicate to the employees through your chosen person, the city administrator.
But if it's the city administrator, for example, that we want to make some changes and we want some additional information on a more timely business, I'll just put that one out there. If we take action, then we can do that, and we can give her that directive as a city council.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Michelle, did you want, you're next.
She pretty much said the same thing I was going to say.
Okay, Carvin.
It would have been shorter.
Okay, sorry, it's hard for me. Okay, Carvin, just to be clear. So if it's, because we had this come up before. So just to be clear on some things. If it is a hostile work environment and the employee needed, okay, if it was a hostile work environment and the employee went to our city administrator and nothing's getting done, could it come back to city council? Okay, and we wouldn't have to hire somebody, just to be clear on everything. All right, just to answer all the questions.
And I think of what I heard you say, and Carvin, please help, because if my interpretation is not correct, I certainly want to know. But let's just say someone comes to you that they are an employee and they go, I'm concerned about this. You have the right to put that on that agenda and get that out there and so it can be discussed and looked at and investigated. But for you to try to deal with it, or me try to deal with it as an individual, that's not how, when you read the state law, that we're supposed to operate. And so it's our responsibility, and we all, the mayor has the right, every one of us, to put it on the agenda so that we can all work together. But if it doesn't get to the agenda, then we can't work together.
Because we don't want, I'm for the employees, and I just want to make sure the employees are getting taken care of for our city administrator, because he or she is in charge of her employees. Well, we're just going to say her, to where she can't just go and fire them without us knowing.
Well, I will just interject. We do have a personnel policy, and we have a grievance process. So there is very clear instruction for how employees go through that grievance process.
Well, will this change it?
No, absolutely
Okay.
not.
I'm just asking. I just want to make sure.
Basic HR law.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because I'm 100% in favor. Employees I want to make sure that they are taken care of.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And
This resolution is directed just at the council members, mayor, and members of the commission and any boards. It does not impact the employee manual or handbook at all.
Okay. Now, I am upset because this is added to some of the things that we should have added to the code of conduct, excuse me, to the social media policy back to when I was asking for it. And Josh was with me as well, that, council and board members, on how that they're acting, that they should act. I mean, we should know how to act. And some of them do not know how to act in public or on social media. So, but I think this is some things.
Well, I'll just have to say that maybe there's a few, but we all make mistakes.
Yes,
we all get our button pushed at some point, and that's because, to use one of your famous words, we're all passionate about what we do.
All right, we are
so passionate. And I just have to say that when I've had my button pushed and something is near and dear to me, and I've gotten short-tempered and mean-tongued, I'm not proud of myself when I do that, and I'm sorry that I do that. And, but we're human beings. And so if I owe anybody an apology, I certainly do apologize. But at the same time, we are charged with the oath of office that we took. And we all are charged with understanding. And Carvin has spent a lot of time trying to educate us in the last 12 months and reminding us that our true responsibility is that if we have an issue that needs to be discussed by the city council, so that there is authority, because that's the only authority that there is the whole of us, then we have to get it on the agenda. We can't deal with it independently and go and push on and lean on the staff, because we already have a handbook that says something different than that. And so our job is truly to talk to each other.
But
The six
as
of us.
mayor, I am also charged with oversight, and that oversight doesn't ever seem to happen. I have asked to be a part of water meetings.
Then you
And
need to
that
bring
doesn't
that
happen.
to the agenda and let us all work on it with you.
But it doesn't happen. I've asked to do this, I've asked to do
Who
that.
did you ask?
Cynthia. That's who this is saying
But you
to
need
ask.
to talk to us.
No, I should be able to talk to her by the way the laws for the mayor is written.
So Carvin, what should not the mayor has the right to bring that to the city council, and is that not something that we work on together?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But don't I have the right to ask the administrator for X, or make sure and include me, give me a copy of what you're going to send out relative to the upcoming meeting? And I could have seen that it didn't say future of Rome. I have asked for that and asked for that. So now do I fill up the agenda for the next meeting of everything I've asked for and haven't gotten? That seems a waste of everybody's time. Am I being overly sensitive tonight?
Well, I think what you're going to do in that instance, if you have a laundry list of complaints, probably what you ought to do is bring to it as one item, city administrator's performance, and bring all of those complaints to the full council, and maybe we go into executive session under the personnel exception, and you guys give a performance evaluation to your city administrator about the complaints that you have about her performance of the job. And the council as a whole obviously retains the supervisory authority over the city administrator, and so if the city administrator is not doing the job that you guys want her to do, then that's the appropriate forum for having that discussion.
I think that's fair. I mean, because I don't want to, as long as we can, because I don't want her to, or I don't want, and I'm just looking at you. I don't want our city administrator where we can't, discipline, work or discipline.
Let me just interject here. So this last paragraph, I'm going to address mayor. We talk all the time. However, when you give direction to me that is contrary to other voices I'm getting, that is what's difficult for me. So I need one voice from the mayor and council. I can't do this and this and this and make everybody happy. So I need one voice, but I get direction from you and from this person and that person, and where am I left? So yes, on those things, we probably need to bring them to the agenda. This item in this code of conduct is very standard across cities across the nation. All this is saying is that it's just, if we've got a public works director and he gets a call from you, and then he gets a call from Mr. Easton and Councilmember Priest and Mayor Pro Tem McCabe, and then Councilmember Ty, and and then I've given him direction, and he's getting all this conflicting information. That's not productive for running a city.
But is that
And
truly
this
happening?
is why most cities channel that the directive comes from the council as a body
And I
through the
agree
city
with what you're
administrator.
saying, but
Okay.
are we seeing any of these guys sitting here? Are they going direct to Sean or Sean's employees, chief's employees? I don't think that's happening.
There's
I
a
may be
couple
wrong.
that do.
Okay, what? No,
we're
okay,
not.
I don't think we are, because what I'm hearing you say is because you are doing, because I'm also hearing, because I go into places just like where I was complaining about a business owner talking to me about their water. I mean, just like whenever last city council meeting, we had Loves in Motel 6, and that I knew were coming to speak about their water bills so high. I had another one come and talk. You have you're in more meetings, and you're talking to too many of us council members. You have more jobs that opened. And I think instead of all of us coming to you and asking you to do this and having meetings with you, can all of us not go straight to the mayor, and then the mayor come to you? That's how a lot of other cities, I think, also kind of work, instead of you opening up more cans of worms and try to get the job done. Because you're starting too many projects. I think you have way too many projects that are not completed as well. Because there's a lot of there is. You have a lot of projects. Don't laugh
Well,
at me.
I'm not. No.
No, I guess
Councilmember
I'm
Majors,
rambling,
when you
but
say I'm starting so many projects,
you have
I
a lot
am.
of projects that
What-
aren't completed. But I'm not
I'm
trying to.
dreaming these projects.
We are off topic here.
No, but I think
We're talking about code of conduct.
Co-
We're not talking
but
about.
it is code of conduct.
We're not
It is.
talking about a performance review.
But
we're
I think
talking about
it's
a paragraph.
paragraph.
In the code
But
of
I think
conduct.
too would be something, I think would be giving the mayor also to where the city council could go to the mayor, where Sam, you could go to the mayor and say, Mayor, I really think that we should, look at the streets. And then the mayor goes, okay, well, let's think about it, and then take it to Cynthia. Cynthia, you say all the time that you're, working 60 hours a week. You're, or 80 hours a week. Do you not?
But only the city council can authorize taking that look at the road. So it takes all of us working
So it goes
together.
back. It's going to but we're putting it on the agenda.
Putting it on the agenda, that doesn't mean that Cynthia's going to be authorized to do anything.
Because
about
she's not completing some of the tasks. Our city website has not been updated. It still shows that Santa Claus is coming to town. So, we can go on.
I leave the news items up for a while.
Okay,
But to say that the website has not been updated is not accurate. It has been updated plenty.
Okay, but
So
I would like it to see. This is, I think it's great. It gives everybody. I'm happy that the employees, quit. If you're going to talk to each other, put it on the microphone for everybody to hear. But I like it to where it gives the opportunity. It takes care of the employees. That is great. But I would also like to see if it helps, if it would go to the mayor, and then the mayor help to give the mayor power to, and then mayor goes to Cynthia. I would like that, but if not.
Just to be clear, this does not impact the employees at all. This is directed at council and board and commission positions.
Okay. So, whatever. I would just
But
like
that
to.
is what you've been talking about.
Yes, ma'am.
Put it on the agenda, and then we can talk about it.
All right.
But for tonight, we need to stay right here on
Okay,
these three
no,
pieces of
that's.
paper.
Yep. Hey, we'll put it on the agenda. We'll talk about it another time, but as long as they're taken care of. But
And I would also point out, from a legal standpoint, by resolution, you guys cannot change any of the statutory duties of the mayor or the city council. But statute does allow the governing body to provide direction to the mayor. So, bottom line, that's how it works.
Can I get quick clarification though? Is this an ordinance or is it a resolution?
would be an ordinance.
Ordinance.
So we were, like Carmen said, we put together several different city items, so this would be an ordinance.
Okay, the mayor brought up an interesting point of this having no teeth. Should there be some clause in there for, I mean, I'm imagining it's an ordinance, not a resolution. That, you know, you change the wording because right now it says resolution at the top. So I would think that if there's some violation, that really the only teeth that it has is that one of us violates, you know, a paragraph here, and then they would become censured, right? Because there's really no punishment, there's no teeth to this, because Joanne brought that up.
And I think
Is it possible?
it's just like
is
our
it possible
social.
to add some kind of a punishment clause in there, Carmen?
You really don't have there's not really any statutory authority for punishing each other. You answer to the electors, to the citizens.
And that's what I assumed it was. So really all we can do is censure. But I wanted to address the mayor's comment.
Thanks, but some employees are taken care of. I wish.
So what action do we need to take here?
What is it going to cost us to do this code of?
Or what did it cost us to put this together? What did it cost us, and what did it cost us anything to put this together?
Like we said, Carvin worked on it, I worked on it, he sent me some ordinances. I sent a draft to him to look at. Carvin, do you know how many hours you spent on this? I mean, I'm not gonna know until I see the bill.
Just give a ballpark. We're not saying auditable hours.
You know, probably a couple of hours.
And then when we finalize it, what happens, Cynthia? Do we have to go back to Carvin?
I just wanted to know. We spent $2,000 the other one. I just wanted to know how much we spent on it. I'm just wanting to know. I don't think it's something. It's like you said, we have no teeth. I mean, what are we going to do? Our employees are, I keep saying our employees. That's all I wanted. If you two are going to talk to each other, talk on the microphone. So it infuriates me. If you want to speak to one another, then talk. Infuriates me. If y'all want to sit there and speak to one another, let everybody hear.
I don't see anybody talking, but
No.
What I was going to say is this is a draft
This is a draft
that we
but-
brought to you. So if this is something that you guys, and Carvin, how many cities have code of conduct and code of ethics in their ordinances?
Oh, it's very common. It's very common. I couldn't begin to guess. It's probably in the hundreds, probably 1,000. I don't know how many cities are there.
Thousands. I mean, there's 254 counties, and there's thousands of cities, and many of them have the code of conduct and code of ethics. So it's not unusual to have this in an ordinance.
I like it. I'd like to see this finalized and made an ordinance and brought to the next council meeting. Does anybody else agree with me?
So are you making a motion?
Yes. And I so move. Make it an ordinance and finalize it, Carvin.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion in a second to go with this code of ordinance. If y'all won't feel like you're not giving up your duties, let's hear a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Not in favor.
We have one opposed and 4 for it, so the ordinance carries.
Well, as I understood the council member's motion is I'm to prepare an ordinance and I will bring it back to you at the next council meeting for final vote.
Right.
That is correct.
Okay, we're moving on to the next item, and I have flat lost my trail here on the thing. What is the very last item, Elaine?
International building codes.
International building codes. What are we under right now?
R. That's Sam.
So,
Go ahead.
So, yes, Councilmember Sam Eason had asked for this last month. Staff has been working on this. We're currently under 2015, 2014 for the National Electrical Code, and we're proposing to go to 2017 and 2018. So we are working on bringing that back to council for your consideration.
So this is right now just for information. We're not wanting to vote on anything.
Correct, because the staff is still working on it, but
So will it be ready by the next council meeting?
it's going to be ready. We have it in February because we have to make sure. Here's what we don't want to get, because remember that a lot of the items you saw on the agenda tonight on the ordinances were cleanup items.
Okay.
And so we don't want to get into a situation where we're like, okay, yeah, we're going to go with the 2017, 2018, but we want to go through our code of ordinances and make sure we're catching as much as we can. We might not catch it all, but try to get it in alignment so there's not inconsistencies in the ordinance.
Okay, so I guess first meeting of February then?
Well, right now we have for February 27th. I think.
Okay, I can live with that. I was just looking for a commitment.
Okay, February 27th is when we have it. And if
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, are we okay with everything we've discussed tonight? We've got future agenda items. I would like to put on there wastewater.
Yes, please.
It's on the agenda. It was going to be on the agenda. We were bringing that back from December.
Okay.
We just weren't ready to bring it back to tonight. But
if it's
yes.
a fair question, are we going to have copies of the council meeting where they said it was a flat rate? I'm getting calls about how
I don't know where you heard that, so if you can point that out to me, I'll look for it.
Yeah, well, you were going to look at YouTube, you said.
And I did, and I didn't see any. It's not a flat rate. I mean, it wasn't ever said a flat rate.
And different people I've had more than one question, so we need to clarify how we got the authority to apply a formula to the.
Well, the council passed it.
That's what I want to see is the minutes. And what date it was. Now, you gave me and it's at home, you gave me an ordinance number that you said carries on that. I never could find it.
Okay. I will.
Well, here it is. It's ordinance, you said 2021-10.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I don't have it memorized.
Well, 2021-10 is what you gave me. I never could find it.
Okay.
So, but we need to clarify that, and if there's any relief we can give to businesses, we need to look at that. Because we're going to start losing businesses and maybe never get any more with the rates like they are. Let alone our residents, So, okay, does anybody got anything else to go on?
No, ma'am.
Well, do we have an objection to adjourning? Do I have a motion?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
And Elaine is looking,
Second.
this
a lot of
lady wants to
hand-stopping.
also make, second it. So, all in favor? As you go out the door.
Carmen, I have a question for you.
Who made the motion? Who second, please?
I made a motion.
Elaine, and
Second.
I was second.
Thank you.
I'll call it then.
but we are officially
It's gonna cost us, but I'll call.